This is Laurie. Let's give her a hand.
Hello, Laurie.
Director of Marketing and Communications.
What's her last name?
Pomerson.
Pomerson.
Laurie. You've been with us since June?
August 1st.
August. Oh. You're way newer than I thought.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I keep saying it's only been 2 months, but it's been 3.
Wow.
Time's just flown by. It's all been a blur, really.
Where are you from originally?
I was born in Sandusky, Ohio,
Okay.
which is known for the North Coast amusement park Cedar Point.
Okay.
You ever heard of it?
Yeah, I have. Steve has.
Yeah. I think it is one of the biggest theme parks in the country or something.
Do they have one of the largest wooden roller coasters?
Yes, the Blue Streak.
I've never been there, but I know.
I used to joke that I was conceived on the Blue Streak. I don't know how that would actually be possible, but
I don't want to think about
I
it.
used to joke with my parents about that. Yeah.
David, you've lost control already.
There's 4 of us. I lost control when I walked through the door tonight at 7:01.
That's where I was born. I was only there until I was 3 years old.
Okay, then where?
And then we moved to a small town just south of there called Bellevue.
Okay.
And that's where I was until I went through high school there. So.
How does Ohio compare to D.C.?
There's a lot more space in Ohio.
Right.
Yeah, when I moved here, it was so funny. When we were house shopping, and I remember in Ohio I had owned 3 different houses. And are you from here?
Originally Philadelphia, but here for the past 32
Okay.
years.
I've been here for 41 years.
Similar to this environment, at least. But I was used to, when you shop for houses, one of the first things you looked at was the square footage of the size of the house. And we started looking at houses here, and I remember saying to our realtor, like right off the bat, well, what is the square footage of these houses? And he just looked at me like I had 3 eyes. He's like, we don't refer to the size. Like, well, who knows? It's like they're all row houses. Nobody really knows what the square footage is. Nobody asked that question. So, okay, great. But, yeah, so what else? Parking lots, spaces to park.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is a big city.
Oh, it's crazy. And when we moved
You
here,
have to
too.
prove you can parallel park before they let you in the place.
Yeah. We had so much stuff that we had, and who knew that this was a common thing to do? We had so much stuff we had to put a number of things out on the sidewalk just for people to take. Because they literally just would not fit into our house.
Wow.
And we had a big yard sale before we moved here.
Now, when did you move here?
7 years ago. And I actually moved here from Columbus, Ohio. So I went from tiny Bellevue with my graduation class was like 200 people, I think, to Columbus to go to Ohio State. So I moved here and I stayed in Columbus. So then I came here from Columbus.
So, no transition to the next question, sorry.
Wait, what did she do when she moved here?
I'm getting to that eventually.
Okay.
Did you, okay, so you're marketing now. Did you perform ever before?
You are smooth. So when I was 4, I want to say, my mom decided that she wanted me to take ballet class. So I took ballet class from the time I was 4 until I was about 20. And I obviously that's how I started getting into anything that had to do with performing or anything of that nature. And then I did, the high school musical when I was in high school, and went to college, and I was a member of the theater, not the theater department, but the student theater club, whatever you call them. I don't even know what you call them. But then, in my summers between university, I ended up doing theme park work, and I worked at 4 different theme parks, and the one that you would know is Busch Gardens, right down the street, doing song and dance.
So you have theater background.
So I have theater. As I said, started with ballet, and then my claim to fame was I was Fanny Bryce and Funny Girl in high school, which they're now reviving on Broadway.
It was postponed though.
Although I think it's postponed.
Yeah, but still.
But still,
Yeah.
look at that. You can go up for that part.
I know. Good. So yeah, so I did theme parks. I mean, and that was tons of fun. It was really a blast. I got to know people from all over the country and from, yes.
A theme park performing is pretty rigorous, isn't it? You're doing like
Yeah.
the same show like 6 times a day, right?
Yeah. It's 6 days a week and it's 6 or 7 shows a day. Yeah.
Oh,
But I mean, the shows are only like 30, 35 minutes.
but still.
But still.
But still, it's all day. Like you can't just
It's
be
all
like, oh,
day.
I'm done.
It's all day. And the shows that I was doing was not just singing, it was singing and dancing. So it was a lot of physical activity as well. I did the show I did at Busch Gardens was actually the country show, and we clogged.
Oh.
Which was fun. It's like tap dancing, only the beat is down. Because I can't tap. I never took tap class, but I could clog.
Does Matt Gardner know you have 15 years of ballet?
I don't know.
Because that's
if
what
does.
he did
Yeah.
for 15 years.
I don't think
That's
he
why
knows
he got how he got into choreography.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't know that.
Tell him it'll.
I didn't know he did ballet.
Oh yes, he did ballet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But then I also did Matt Gardner do this?
I don't think he did theme parks.
I worked on a cruise ship for a year.
And you performing?
Yeah.
Okay.
One line.
Well, people always ask me that question, and then it's not a line that you would know, and they don't even exist anymore under the name they were at the time. Busch Gardens. The way I got the job was I was working at Busch Gardens, and Anheuser-Busch bought a cruise line, and I don't know if it was called Exploration Cruise Lines when they bought it, or if that's what they named it, but it was called Exploration Cruise Lines. And so anyway, I worked for Anheuser-Busch, actually, took the people from the parks and put them on the ship. So that's how I got that job.
What's it like living on a cruise ship?
Well, what was great about it is, I mean, the ratio of crew to passengers was something like 1 to 3, which is, really, the ship was a smaller ship that only had 250 passengers. And so we initially lived down in the crew quarters, which is, with everybody that makes the ship sail to the wait staff, the housekeeping staff, and they're crammed into tiny little spaces. And there were 4 of us girls, and we were crammed into a tiny little space at the beginning. But then, like, the ship wasn't full, and they bumped us up to, like, regular passenger cabins up on the first level or whatever, and it was swanky. So we ended up having to do more than just the shows. We had to do a lot of administrative work, like work behind the information desk, and we would escort tours. We had shore excursions. We would escort the tours, just not that we were expected to know everything about the regions we were touring to, but just to have somebody to go with the passengers and be a face of the ship kind of thing. We had to go to the captain's cocktail parties and wear the long dresses and be Julie McCoy and do the whole thing. So it was, and we performed maybe 4 nights a week, and we had the embarkation, debarkation night, which, so nothing happened on that. So you had 6 nights, and we performed on 4 of those nights, and then the other,
Wow.
it was kind of 2 shows a night compared to the theme park.
Right.
It was great. It was really nice. We got to go, I spent 5 months in Alaska and 7 months in the Caribbean and South
How long
Pacific.
ago was that cruise line?
Let's see. Wait a minute, when did I graduate? I used to be 86. 88, 87?
Okay, it's been a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, quite some time. I mean, and I'm assuming the ship still exists.
I've never heard of that line at all.
Yeah, no, I think that, you really just. But you should go to Alaska on a cruise. I highly recommend it.
I've heard.
Yeah.
I've never done a cruise period, but I hear the Alaska one's the way to go.
It is the way to go.
I went on Central Africa on a stern sleeper.
Steve takes lots of
Extremely relaxing.
200
river
passengers.
cruises.
That would be, okay.
Awesome. Where the
That's,
big boats can't go.
that's exactly the size ship that you need to
Yes.
do it on. Because you can get into the small fjords, you get closer to the glaciers. It's,
12 days.
yeah.
Enough with the cruises.
You can get me going on cruises. And entertainment on cruises, too.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
another
Well,
subject.
Karma and Joe have done lots of cruise work, actually.
Who?
Karma
Yeah.
and Joe Clarko, they've done lots for Disney cruises. Carmen Camp and Joe Clark.
I'm going to have to talk to Carmen.
Yeah, she choreographs them all the time.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
The business has really changed now.
Yeah.
But if you go and just don't go on one of those big ships.
If you go on a cruise, talk to me.
Okay.
Literally.
Okay. Is it common for people in marketing in the arts field to have some kind of arts background?
Well, I find pretty much anybody that's in the business has some background, and I don't, for me, I could have made a choice to stay on the performing side, but I just felt like, well, I'm not really good enough to be a professional at this, and I wasn't as far as ballet goes or whatever. But I still had an interest in the performing and theater and that environment, and so this was, a way to still be part of that environment.
Did it help to have that background, do you think?
Yeah, yes and no. For marketing specifically,
Okay.
I mean, I think it does because you inherently have a passion for the product that you're trying to sell.
Right.
Which, if I was trying to sell toothpaste, I don't know if I could do it, or whatever.
Right.
So I think it helps in that regard. And then I think it can also backfire because you kind of take too much for granted and you think you know things that you really don't. I mean, you still have to apply outside knowledge to what you're doing. You can't just roll with it because you love it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Tell us about where you went to school.
Went to Ohio State. Have a bachelor's degree in communication and a master's degree in arts management, both from Ohio State. And when I got my master's degree, Ohio State did not have an arts administration or arts management program of any kind. So I actually wrote my own track, so to speak, and took a track of marketing from the marketing and business school and some art education and whatnot from the Department of Arts, and created a program. Now they have an arts administration.
Did it borrow
track.
heavily from yours?
I don't know. I really don't know, but I would like to think that it did.
How do you define arts administration?
It's arts management. I mean, it
Talk about the performing arts or museums or
could be, yeah, it could be any of that. Yeah, it could be any of that. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I had, I couldn't even tell you, but a lot of the art education stuff that I had as part of that degree, I couldn't even begin to, recall any of that kind of stuff to you.
Was marketing always the plan, or was that just, how did you end up choosing
No. As a matter of fact, I got my degree in communications because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my degree in communications was not specific to any one type, like interpersonal or media, or it was, I just took like the broadest thing I could because I had no idea what I wanted to do. So then when I got done with the bachelor's degree, I still didn't know what I wanted to do, which is why I stayed in school and got the master's degree. So then when I was done with the master's, actually it was before I was done with the master's, this is the story of how I got into theatrical marketing. A friend of mine, this is in Columbus, Ohio, a friend of mine won tickets to a show that was playing at the Palace Theater in Columbus, Ohio, and it was Big River. And the promotion that she won her tickets for was, there's a fountain in downtown Columbus, and the radio station was sponsoring a, build your own float, and whoever's float lasted the longest of the fountain would win tickets to see the show. Anyway, so she won tickets, her company won tickets, and she invited me to go with her. And we sat in the last row of the theater, and this guy got up on stage, would become my future boss, and said, here's a big Broadway series. We're happy to be here in Columbus, Ohio. This is our first show. We just opened our offices. Thank you for coming, and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, they just opened their offices. Maybe because I thought maybe I could volunteer. I was just finishing up my master's degree. I didn't have a job. So I called them and I just said, do you need any help? And they said, yeah, we need, absolutely. We've got 2 people here and we just opened our offices. Come on down. And that's literally how I got involved in theater marketing.
Was it a touring show? Or was it?
It was a touring show.
Okay.
That was back when Starlight Express was touring, and it was like the year before Les Mis went out ever on its first tour. That was like 1989 or something along those lines.
I actually saw Starlight Express and Big River.
Yeah. It's about time for them to revive Big River.
It was good.
Yeah.
I like Starlight Express.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
I love it.
My dad took me to when I was in 4th grade, and that's why I'm here today.
There you go.
It was in Las Vegas for a good
That's where I grew up.
For many
Yeah,
years,
and
yeah.
I saw it. I grew up in Vegas, and I saw it twice as a kid.
Yeah.
I saw it in London
Yeah.
So,
long ago.
And I didn't, and just to kind of close that
Yeah.
loop, I did not start in marketing. Like literally, things I was doing was answering phones and filing and tearing tickets and stuffing up. I mean, all the stuff that you guys as volunteers do. You know, I mean that was the stuff that I was doing. And eventually, I became hired as like a temporary part-time labor, and then I became permanent part-time, and then full-time. And you know, they finally taught me how to use. It was Ticketmaster, which signatures on Ticketmaster, but this was before the software we have now. It was back in the old Ticketmaster. They taught me how to use the ticketing system, so I became the ticket manager. So that's really where I started, and was more in the administrative ticketing side. And then I became the manager of our little 4-person office, and then I started to get nosy into the marketing department. Because our marketing, even though I was in Columbus, Ohio, the company that I worked for was based out of Louisville, Kentucky. And the marketing director was in Louisville. And I thought, well, this is just really not right to have the marketing person in a completely different city and not be able to understand the community and do grassroots and PR and anything from that distance. And so I started to pester them and say, I'll do the marketing. I live here. Let me do the marketing. And then eventually they let me do marketing.
huh. And was that your favorite of the many jobs that you had there, or?
Yeah. Because I got to work with a lot of famous people and see lots of shows for free, and everybody knew me, all the members of the media knew, because at that time I was doing not just, what I'm doing now is Director of Marketing and Communications, is the strategic planning and implementing advertising campaigns and the overarching term marketing, whereas before I was also doing all the public relations and the promotions, and I have a staff that does that at Signature, so which is nice. And like, I have somebody else who can do all that. That's terrific. Wow.
In whose bailiwick is communications with subscribers about upcoming events?
Well, when you say, you mean who ultimately makes the decision about what to communicate?
Example, last night was the CD
release.
snow release.
Yeah.
I know I found out about it on Facebook primarily. Steve wound up not coming last night because there never was an email or something that went out. So it's some things. I asked from a fall through the cracks standpoint of if nobody clearly is responsible for that. I think it may be why there's some things that he doesn't know about.
Sure.
Because he's not a Facebooker.
Well, and having only been there for 3 months, I didn't know about that event until I think the week before it happened. It wasn't something that was
None of us really knew about it.
It wasn't really a signature.
It was just Matt was using our space. It wasn't like an official event.
Eric's the producer of the record. Matt's the sound designer.
Yeah.
Matt Connor is the composer. It's a signature event.
None of us knew about it.
I have a question. I live right here in Shirlington. How, I don't know whether this is your bailiwick. How can you get people who live right next door?
I live right here. I know.
I have talked to them, and most of the people I meet don't even know the theater's here, let alone been inside.
When you say you've talked to them, like who do you?
He lives.
I did. I just moved.
Oh, okay.
I'm now in the condo.
Oh, okay.
But I was talking to a group of people a couple of weeks ago. We're standing up there a week ago on the sidewalk. And a couple of them know it, but no interest in really coming. And some of them don't know about Signature. Oh, there's a theater there? Well, I didn't know. How long have you lived here? A year?
People ask me when I say that I work at a theater in Shirlington, they ask if the movie theater is
All right.
where I work.
Yeah.
which is,
Right.
no, it's not. I'm not using my degree to pop popcorn.
Right.
Thank you, though.
I mean, is that something that marketing would do?
Yeah,
Oh.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we have done some grassroots to the area, you know, to reach these, we've had some conversations about what can we do in the buildings, and apparently we're not allowed to get into the buildings, we can't, because we thought, you know, we could go stuff things
Have
in
you
the
thought of
doors.
this popped in my head, like a real estate mailing, dear occupant?
Sure.
And that's never been done.
I think the post office actually has some kind of a program where you can do postcards to every
Yeah.
household within a certain zip code. And so whatever the Shirlington zip code is, we could theoretically do.
Of course,
you know,
the problem.
that gets officially
problem-
delivered.
Yeah, this is the problem that every theater's having.
Right.
Yes,
Right. It's definitely not only us.
right. Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, maybe this is a dumb question, but do the people who live here go to these restaurants? Or do people?
Oh, yes. And this is a high-income area. You know, really, this is...
And are these restaurants, I mean, because the evenings and the times that I've been here, I don't really see them that well populated, the restaurants.
It depends on which restaurant.
Yeah, the restaurant.
A lot of them are pretty sparse.
Yeah.
Paying these like,
When the summer and
exploding.
spring, you know, and they have Oktoberfest here, the
Yeah.
jam, you know,
Right,
and the Christmas thing. So people come here.
right.
I have a friend of mine who lives in Annandale. I see her in restaurants once in a while here.
Mm-hmm.
She lives near Barbara.
Yeah.
Just zip on down.
Yeah.
So.
And we've gone to a couple of the restaurants we've worked with to have them do check stuffers into their, you know, when you
Yeah.
get your check, you get a flyer, so that, you know, you can have a special offer to redeem at the box office for tickets, and we've done that kind of stuff with them.
Johnny Rockets gives you a discount.
Yep. It's true.
If they have a ticket, that's what,
And I see
10%
the
off?
posters in the store.
Yeah, something like that.
Right, right.
Were you all in the Shirlington Village coupon book that just went out?
Nobody redeemed it.
We had
Yeah.
about 5 redemptions of our
I
items.
just checked on that today,
Mhm.
and we did an offer for hairspray, and we're going to repeat the offer again this November, December, but nobody used it.
Hmm.
So,
You know what I get, sort of a similar thing. I have a friend of mine, he and his wife and 2 kids. I talked to him about theater about 6 months ago. They'll go to New York before they will do any theater in this area.
There is a stigma.
That's because
It's
they're
hard to
related
fight
to Peter
against.
Marks.
They will spend thousands going to see a show in New York, but they won't see anything at the Kennedy Center or Signature.
There's just a reputation that New York has that is really tough to fight against. And
I mean, it's even harder, I'm sure, in fighting that at the Kennedy Center is nowhere near as fighting that in Columbus, Ohio,
yeah,
which is what I did with touring Broadway. I mean, people would think, we had 2 absolutely beautiful 2,300, 2,800 seat theaters back in Ohio. And, you know, we would get the touring shows that go to the National, that go to the Kennedy Center, we would get those shows. But people did not realize that they were national touring Broadway shows. They thought they were, you know, local theater companies doing something, or that it was some second rate. I mean, there was definitely an image problem that we had to fight. And it took until, you know, I mean, not to make this sound completely simplistic, but when the Phantom of the Opera toured, that was like the first time I think people realized it was something more. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like they finally got it, and we were able to kind of leverage that interest and have a season grow into something that, you know, was successful. But
How is promoting a touring show different than, say, something here at Signature, something that's in one house?
Yeah.
How is that different?
well, the biggest difference is with a touring show, you've got, in most cases, and, you know, not Wicked, not Jersey Boys, but in most cases, you have a show playing for 1 week, 8 performances, and the hall seats 2,500 people, which over the course of a week is 22,000, 23,000 people. It takes 2 months, maybe more, to get 22,000 people through Signature's doors.
Yeah.
I mean, if they sold out every performance of Hairspray, that would equate 1 week of Hairspray at the Ohio Theater. So
Wow.
there's that, which means you have to, and a touring Broadway show has a much larger budget.
Right.
You know, it's a commercial theater product, and they, their ticket prices are higher, but they have much more money to spend.
But you can also use the word Broadway touring,
Right.
which you can't use here.
But I think somehow we can assimilate that here.
Well,
but we can't say it isn't
yeah.
Broadway.
Well, it's a Tony Award winning.
Right.
Right. But, so you've got, the luxury you have here is that you've got word of mouth to use.
There's no time for that with only a week-long
There
run.
is no time. And, you may think, oh, it's only 8 performances. Well, that's great. Well, I'll tell you what, when the wedding singer does a national tour and, sucks, sorry, and nobody cares about it, you don't have any time to build word of mouth. You've got Tuesday through Sunday. You can't do anything with that. So, that's the luxury over here, is that you've got, 2.5 months or 2 months of something where you can build up and sustain a campaign as opposed to, one shot and you're out. Which, for me, is something that I'm just learning. I have not, Hairspray will be my first 2.5 months, whatever, however long it is, will be my first show.
Who puts the ads in the Post? Is that
I do.
Because I'll tell you, recently, the past couple of months, just all the time, their blurbs, their pictures, their
There's been lots of
Oh,
good
the
coverage.
editorial stuff?
coverage
Or
of
the
the Hollow
actual-
and Boy
yeah.
Detective Fails. And
Been a lot of good coverage in the Express lately too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of that too, the editorial stuff, a lot of that is Peter, who who's constantly pitching stories. I don't know if you saw the piece that was in about volunteering that was just in last week. That was something that we did so long ago. We didn't know when it was going to run. It's like they
It's
did
just
the,
there.
it was just waiting until they had space to fill or something. I have no idea. But the actual advertising part of the paid ads, as you would see, is something that I do. Which, again, there's not a lot of that done because the budgets are pretty low. Yeah, it's very expensive. I got an 1/8 of a page ad in the regular Post was like $3,000 or something. You
Can't do that every day.
that's an entire budget for a show, $3,000, So, yeah.
Back to Ohio. Was it like? Is there time in between shows, or is it just like a different show every week?
Most of the time, there's time between shows. There's occasions when things will back up to each other really closely.
Does that cause any conflict? Or?
The only time that I can remember that it caused conflict was, do you remember when the Who's Tommy toured? Did you ever see it? Do you remember that? So that show had, behind the scenes, there was so much going on with that show because the set was very complicated. And they had 2 versions of the set touring, a version A and a version B. And the version A went into all the bigger houses, and the version B went into all the houses that physically didn't have the space in the wings or probably not fly space, but backstage wing space. And we were like the second city to get the version B set. We had 2 theaters in Ohio, and one was big and capable of housing the big shows, but the symphony was there like all the time. So more often than not, we were in the slightly smaller space. So anyway, we were the second city on the B set tour, and it was in the middle of January or February, I can't remember exactly which month, and they were coming from Detroit. And we knew already, because of the complications of the load-in of the set, again, normally you run Tuesday through Sunday, we knew in advance that we were not going to be able to make Tuesday night's performance because the jump from Detroit to Columbus and the load-in was such that they were just going to have to cut Tuesday's performance. So we knew in advance. We cut Tuesday. We called all the Tuesday subscribers. We told them, sorry, we have to move you to Thursday afternoon. We're doing a matinee. So now we're opening on Wednesday. So since the cast members had an extra day, and so they didn't have to be in Columbus right away the next day, a lot of them flew home to New York because they had an extra day. A blizzard hits New York. 5 of the lead actors are in New York and can't get to Columbus, and it's Wednesday afternoon, 3 o'clock the day of our first performance, because we cut Tuesday, and we had to make the call what we were going to do, and we ended up having to cancel the Wednesday night performance and move the Wednesday night people into Friday afternoon. We had to get special permission from Equity to do 8 shows in 4 days. It was total insanity. And the thing that was so sad is Tommy was a great musical, but like nobody saw it. Because it was such a messed up schedule. But then we had on top of all of that, Tommy had this projection screen thingy. And some piece of the projector didn't make it from Detroit, so like our projections, that whole effect didn't make sense and didn't work right, and then it came in late, and then, there was something else that was going on. Anyway, then the loadout for Tommy was also more extensive, even though loadouts are easier than load-ins, and we had cats the next
huge
week.
show like ever.
Yeah, so we literally had Tommy going out Sunday night, cats coming in on a Monday load-in, and that was the only time that I can remember. And I was in Columbus doing shows for about 15 or 16 years. That was the only time I remember having something like that happen. So usually there's time between. So. Long answer to a short
No,
question.
it's good. I know you and I talked about some of the bigger names that you worked with during your days working on the tour shows. Do you want to share any stories about any of those folks?
Yeah, I have quite a few people that Faye Dunaway is absolutely crazy. She had the furniture in her hotel room rearranged no less than 6 times during the week that she was staying at the hotel. Now she did like our theater. She felt that the spirits in our theater were positive. So she was very happy with the theater. But she had a horrible reputation for like firing her drivers on the spot and walking out of cars and things that she would do at the hotels. And she's, unfortunately, all the bad things that you hear, you know, that's unfortunate. And then there were certainly plenty of people, John Davidson was just a doll to work with. I always remember the bad ones, though.
Those are good stories.
They make good stories.
I can tell you tons of good or bad ones. Jerry Lewis was also a nightmare. He's still alive, right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah,
He just
He
resigned
stopped doing
from
that.
the...
he just
got fired.
Was he like really sick?
Oh, was he fired from it?
Oh, he was fired.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, it's time to come.
okay.
I'm past.
What show was he?
He was doing Damn Yankees.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. And he was Jerry Lewis in Damn Yankees, and we did a big press conference when he came, and he spent 45 minutes doing the press conference, and at the end of the press conference, a reporter walked up to him and asked him a question, stuck a tape recorder in his mouth, and he said, using explicatives, "Get that tape recorder out of my mouth. I just did a 45-minute press conference." And the radio station proceeded to play that on their morning zoo program the next day, like every 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes.
Howard Dean would be able to feel empathy.
Yeah. But then he also missed 2 or 3 performances because he had the flu. And I was quoted on the AP Wire. It was the only time I was quoted. My dad was like out in Arizona at the time, and he's like, "I saw you quoted in the whatever Arizona paper. What are you talking about?" Because he was sick, and I don't even remember how old he would have been at that time. He must, so there was lots of curiosity about his health. But Stephanie Powers and Robert Wagner were also really great to work with. We did a behind-the-scenes tour of the Columbus Zoo with them because she's really into animal preservation. And we got to see 2 koala bears having sex with a TV crew filming.
Was it live?
No, it wasn't live.
At least there was that.
Can you imagine if it was?
Oh gosh.
Mickey Rooney attacked me backstage because tickets were not selling for his show. What show was that? What show was that? I can't remember.
Sugar Babies?
Yes!
Good for you.
I saw him at the...
I think.
It must have been in the 80s.
No, that's not it. Is that it?
With Anne...
That's not it.
who was the dancer?
Anne Rankin?
No. She's
Ann Miller?
Ann Miller.
Oh.
I think I saw her.
No, it wasn't that. I don't remember what it was.
Anyway, I saw him at the, not the National, it's the Warner.
The Warner,
back
yeah.
in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
That's fun. We've started to tap into the differences between the tour shows and Signature. You have 5 premiere shows this season. How does one approach that, something like that, 5 shows that nobody's heard of in one season?
You had to ask that question, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, you've done 2 of them already, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2
But
world
those
premieres.
had at least a bit of a knowledge here because of the readings 2 years ago.
Right,
Yeah,
So
that
those
helped a
didn't
little
start
bit.
dead cold.
Right.
right.
Really, really, and Brother Russia and
Second Chance.
Second Chance are
But,
and Saturday Night nobody's ever heard of, but
well, but at least it had the Sondheim pedigree.
Yeah, it has
Yeah.
his name on it.
Yeah.
well, if they don't do a Sondheim every year, the subscribers storm the castles.
Yeah, right, which is great. And the subscribers are what you have to rely on.
Mhm.
I mean, theoretically, in any kind of a series, you're balancing out those world premieres and those home runs so that you can nurture the new stuff. You want to be able to have an environment where that kind of stuff can be created and financially supported. So you have to balance it out. So the subscribers that you asked to please come on this ride with me, you guys, you're making a commitment to support these shows, and we in turn have to rely on you to then help us sell them. And that's where you get back
And
to.
we do.
And you do.
I flock Signature Theater in supermarket checkout lines.
Thank you.
I mean, you name
I
it.
do it at church.
I don't go to church.
That's terrible too. I mean,
No.
anywhere I can.
But it's totally. I don't know how we would do it if we didn't have the internet, because
Oh yeah.
you're not only are you talking about world premieres, but you're talking again about incredibly limited budgets.
Yeah.
So almost everything we do has to be educational and informative, so people can learn about what the shows are, and so that we can share with them samplings. With Second Chance now, we received a recording, 5 of the songs from the show, that we were able to put one of the songs up on the website so that people can come and at least, we can tell people 100 times that it's a lyrical duet love story finding a second chance at love, Well, what's the music like? If we can be able to say, here's a song that you can listen to, here's a video that shows you a clip of rehearsal, we're able to get buzz brewing in that capacity. But if we didn't have the internet, I don't know how we would do it.
Of course, the problem too with most of what Signature does, there are no names in the production.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right,
You can't say. And I see what the Kennedy Center does with, who was it, Kate Blanchett?
yeah.
That was a great
You know,
production, though.
Well, it was very dated. Uncle Vanya.
I loved it, but
I enjoyed it. Do I want to see it again? No. But they bring that down here, and everybody goes because of this one person.
Yeah.
right. I mean, we have our DC celebrities, but those are only
Right.
carried to the theater folk.
Right,
You put
right.
Sherry Edelman's name on a poster, though, and it definitely brings in a crowd.
Right, and that's stuff, again, having been only in the position for 3 months, that's a wealth of information that I don't have, like
Yeah.
all these actors' backgrounds, Matt will say to me, well, this person was in such and such show at Ford's Theater, so, go see if you can send an email to the Ford's Theater patrons who would maybe want to come and see this person. Obviously that is a smart and great thing to do, but I don't even know the actors' names yet, let alone know what shows they were in. So I'm, learning and relying on that.
Well, the guy who runs Ford's Theater
Paul Patrol.
chose you and Morton for Ray because he'd seen him in chess,
Yes,
and he wanted Jill Pace.
right.
Couldn't get her.
She was doing Death Takes a Holiday,
Yeah.
so.
So
But the woman he got, I think, was better
She was-
than
she was
Rogers.
excellent, yeah.
See, and you guys would know.
and a lot of the people we go to, we follow. We're real groupies.
Oh, yeah, we'll follow
Well,
Signature people.
Half of
in
the people
theaters.
in Parade,
Oh, yeah.
half of the people in all
They
these
were
things
all-
we know,
they were all
because
Signature
they're all
people.
here. Yeah, they're all
Right.
Signature people.
Right.
Half the people in A Christmas Carol at
Mhm.
Ford's will be
Right.
Signature people.
Yep.
And 7076 in the spring.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So,
We're not
that's
your typical.
a whole nother,
Yeah.
asset I can rely on that I haven't really learned to take advantage of yet.
Right.
Because so it's a lot of education, a lot of word of mouth, a lot of, since I've been here, we've been pestering Eric and Matt, we need more content. Getting content early is so hard to get because you don't have photographs, you don't have video footage, you don't have,
Which is so necessary now.
oh, it's really.
People want to go to the website and see a lot.
Right, right. And it's no different when you're working on a Broadway tour if you're one of the first cities on the tour. It's the same problem. You have no TV commercial, you have no posters, you have, nothing has been created yet, and so you're left with, what am I supposed to do? So you run up against the same problem, working on the big shows if you're early on in the tour. And a lot of the tours, too, just go back to your point about stars, a lot of times a decision on whether or not to put a show out on the road is made by whether or not they can put a star name in it. Like The Wedding Singer was a bad idea. If they would have put somebody famous in it, it might have been good. It might have sold a ticket.
But
I love that opening number. I don't know the rest of the show at all.
Some of them now, like Les Mis and Jersey Boys, don't need names.
They don't need
No, because they're entities.
Right.
They
They are now entities.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. There was definitely a time when people would ask, who's in Les Mis? There was a time when people would ask that. Now they don't.
Of course, now that's a good thing about Hairspray here. Hairspray doesn't need a star.
No.
I don't think it really had a star, except Harvey Firestein.
Yeah, right,
Right.
But it doesn't need a star because Hairspray is Hairspray.
right.
Right.
Right. But then I think the other thing that is probably a problem in both my previous world and this world, and the previous world maybe more so, was if you were doing something like a Hairspray, you had to make yourself distinct from the other small community theater programs or shows. Signature theater is not, and I don't mean disrespect to any other small theater community group. I think that what they're doing is important and good. But, there's a perception problem that people might not realize until they have to pay for their tickets. And at that point, they should realize it's not a community theater production. But that's, another challenge.
Little Theater of Alexandria just did Hairspray this summer.
Right.
Despite what I read about Signature, the first time I lived 2 miles away for years and years and years, never went. And finally subscribed one summer, but I was expecting good amateur. Despite what I read.
Was that when we were in the new space, or was it still the garage? Well, the garage was just by its space.
No, but I had read good things about Cabaret. I got this thing and I said, it's time I subscribe. So I did just blindly subscribe for the whole season. Came and saw a nothing thing called, what is it, 20th Century by Ken Ludwig, which was a nothing. I mean, it's a fluff piece. But it blew me away. But I was expecting good amateur, despite what I'd read.
Right.
And but it blew me away.
Right.
Totally blew me away.
But the difference was that the garage tickets were half the price of the tickets here.
That
So
was,
you
had
could
nothing
think,
to do.
yeah, but I'm saying, if you're paying $35 for a ticket versus paying $75 for a ticket.
There's an expectation.
Right, and some people won't go that, extra step for them.
Right. I mean, there are production values that you know you will see at $75 that you will not see at $35.
It is time for us to do our 10 flashbacks.
Wait. What was she doing just before she came to work for Signature?
Oh, right.
We just skipped that middle part, didn't we? We've been all over the place.
You've been here in D.C., I know. From Busch Gardens to Signature, I don't think so. Something was in
No,
the
okay,
middle
so, I mean, this is a very short story, actually. So the job that I got back in Ohio, that I started volunteering and ticketing and all that stuff, I was with that company up until 2 years ago. That company grew and morphed and changed owners and became a public corporation and then was spun off into a private company and was a whole bunch of different things. And my job was from ticketing to management to marketing at the local level. And then I moved to DC 7 years ago. I stayed with the company and still worked in the marketing department, but I was working in a national capacity. We presented shows in 43 cities across the country and Canada. So I was on the national marketing team working on bigger programs for all those cities, called Broadway Across America. It's the name of the company, if you know about that. That's who they are now. So that's what I did.
There you go.
So you were living here, but...
I was living here, but not working in Indy. My office was actually at the Warner Theater, but I wasn't working on Washington, D.C. programs.
Right.
I was doing things in all the rest of the country. Baltimore would have been the closest to the Hippodrome. I worked on stuff there. I worked on stuff at, I'm blanking on the theater in Philadelphia. Doesn't matter.
You ready for these 10 questions?
You would think that I would know, although I've only gone to one of these lunch, the brown bag lunches. All right.
I don't even have to introduce the questions this time. You all know.
Have you ever asked them the questions?
No. We need to do that one of these nights. We should have, next year we'll have volunteer night at Page to Stage, and we'll get to know everyone better. What is your favorite word?
I love my cat, and my cat is a Himalayan, and I love to say Himalayan.
Interesting. I think that's the most interesting answer we've got to that question yet. What is your least favorite word?
Probably cancer.
I'm sorry, what was?
Cancer.
Oh, cancer.
Yeah.
Very bad one.
Too much of that going on.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
A good glass of wine, which is where I'm headed to, actually.
What's it rough, huh?
Shoo! I made it.
What turns you off?
Messiness or disorganization or something of that nature. Yeah.
What is your favorite curse word?
I'm boring. Probably shit.
Okay. Fair.
I say for the love of Pete a lot.
It's almost a curse word.
I mean, not that I don't use fouler language,
Right.
but the one that rolls off my tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you love?
My cat purring.
This cat is a superstar.
My Himalayan purring
There we
cat.
go. What sound or noise do you hate?
Yeah, my husband's alarm clock. Because it goes off earlier than I need to be up, and he hits the snooze button all the time. It drives me crazy.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Something in the movies. I'm like a director of a movie.
It's fun.
Yeah. Something where I can be bossy and creative at the same time.
Twice in the last week, where the answer to that question has been something in the movies.
Really?
Yeah, it's the same thing Kathleen said on Thursday.
Yeah.
You know, Ewan Morton wants to do that. Did you
Really?
know that? Yeah. He would like to leave the stage and go to Hollywood
Wow.
do
Yeah.
movies.
Right?
That's where the money is, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, right? That's true.
What profession would you not like to do?
I think I would really suck at being a teacher, and I don't have any desire to be a teacher. I respect them greatly, but my husband's a professor, and I can't imagine doing what he does. Teaching.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome, we saved you a seat on the aisle.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for coming tonight, everyone.